Welcome to Blockbuster. We're your hosts, Avery O'Neill and Murphy Phillips. Unfortunately, Chris could not join us today, so please wish him well. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Superintendent of Rockingham County Schools, Dr. John Stover. Please say hello.
Hello, how is everyone doing out there in Reedsville? Thank you so much for doing this, Avery and Murphy. I think it's wonderful. You know, I heard the first podcast, and I'm like, I would love to be on this. So here we are.
I think everybody else at the school has probably asked us a billion times to be on it.
Yeah.
And we have to keep telling them there's a schedule. Like, you can only do this once a week. You know?
But isn't it great to know that something you guys have spent time in creating is having an impact? That's what I want for all of our kids, actually.
Yeah, because, everybody's felt that from, like, an outside perspective, but you've never been a part of something like that. It's really amazing.
It really is. I mean, like, when we started, we were like, okay, whether this gets any traction or not, we're still going to do this.
Yeah.
And then, like, literally after we put a social media presence up, it was like ding, ding,
before
ding,
we posted
ding.
anything.
That's great.
Yeah, we didn't even have anything up. It's been really crazy. So this is a really huge moment too.
Great.
So.
Welcome to the Procrastination Podcast. This is Murphy at home. This was recorded. The original podcast was recorded on the 18th of October. It is now the 8th of November. I'm just now recording this. So whoopsie daisy. This was supposed to come out like the 21st of October. Yeah. Don't mind me. Welcome to the game coverage. I'll try and keep this short so that we can get to the interview. It's really, really spicy. Yeah, on Thursday, October 31st, we beat Moorhead 86-0. That's crazy. For context, I'm punching in here. I stopped recording to pull up the scores on my phone. Dude. What? Wow. Okay. Rip the Panthers. And with a 10-0 overall win streak, 5 away, 5 home games, we varsity beat Moorhead on Friday, November 1st, 52-7, which is nuts. 2 games at Moorhead. Crazy. If I sound like I'm eating, I am. I have pizza rolls. I just want to point out that there's a game going on right now against Pine Lake Prep for the male soccer team. And on October 28th, we beat TW Andrews 7-1. Insane. I don't really have anything on esports other than I'm having a lot of fun with my teammates. So that's really all I have to say. So yeah, thank you guys. I'm not gonna do the schedule since this is so late. It also esports news. Fall sports are wrapping up and winter sports are starting. The swim team will start in November. If you are interested in swimming competitively, please see Coach Palmer, Avery O'Neill, or Jake Perkins. Those are both seniors, by the way, not Coach Palmer. And with that, on to my sponsor section. Thank you to Spark and C, Mr. Bradshaw, for letting us have a podcast for Reedsville High School. I've heard that some other schools are also doing podcasts as part of Spark and C, so that's really cool to see. And shows you how devoted these guys are to technology in general, and giving kids opportunities to do exactly what they want instead of just being like, hey, you like that? How about some classes to just like teach you some of the stuff? You know, they actually get you behind the microphone, getting you lines and giving you complete creative freedom to make a podcast. That's what we got. Bradshaw really had no hand in this other than just like setting some ground rules, which were already a given. But you know, it's a very fun experience, and stuff like that happens all the time in the Spark Lab. I saw people messing with Arduinos and robotics and stuff, and it's so cool. If you are interested in learning about AI, anything technology related, and graphical careers, we highly recommend you to visit Mr. Bradshaw in the Spark NC Lab in room B114. For news, there was no school November 5th. I say that past tense. RAF and Spectrum are offering 3 cash scholarships through an essay contest on digital equity, almost said equality, in Rockingham County schools. For more info, see the school's website or Facebook page. And this happened on November 1st. Rockingham County Schools gave a shout out to Dalton McMichael High School girls volleyball team, who will take on the Seaforth Hawks for the state championship on Saturday. We didn't get another message saying that they won, so I'm assuming that they lost. Sorry to hear that, McMichael. Jose, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, on to lunch. Now that I think about it, you guys already ate the lunch. But I just want to say that on Friday we had lasagna roll-ups. Those are really good. And with that, we want to go to Dr. John Stover for the interview. This is very excited. I'm very excited for you guys to hear this. Here we go.
Okay, welcome to the interview section with Dr. Stover. I'm just gonna roll off. Here we go. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Well, that depends.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on, are you just having a regular hot dog with ketchup, mustard, whatever? Or is it like a Chicago dog, it's a meal then, but bun, meat, condiments, I'm going to go with a sandwich.
Okay. I like
Anybody want to argue with that, push back on that?
I don't think I can argue with that. I can add perspective in that when my mom makes hot dogs, they're the type of bun where it's like 2 pieces separated.
Yeah.
And it's not like put together at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Leah actually had a really good point, because I asked her that in class today, because I was like, hey, is there anything you want to ask the superintendent? And she's like, no, but what are you going to ask him? And I'm like, well, we're going to start with a really silly question. Is a hot dog a sandwich? And she goes, no, but it does become one when you cut it down the middle and you have like 2 pieces.
You cut sandwiches?
And
Where people cut hot dogs?
That's a little bit weird to me.
Well, I did for my brother's lunch.
What I think it's not when you like the southern style where you put the chili, the mustard, the coleslaw, and it just falls apart and you can't pick it up. Then it's not a sandwich. If you can pick it up and eat it with just the regular, then I'll say it's a sandwich.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll say I've never cut one. That's new.
Well, when I didn't have a lot of time and with my kids, I would do like beanie weenie type hot dogs with baked beans. And,
I've had
that was the gourmet dinner from Dad.
Yeah, I've had like pigs in a blanket, but I've never like cut a hot dog.
Yeah, it's weird.
So we're gonna do complete 180. What impact do you aim to make as superintendent?
So what I want to do as superintendent, we have a vision for our district, and I work with the Board of Education. We work together. As well as all the principals who I consider district leaders, and the central office staff. What we're trying to do is ensure that when our students graduate, that they have all the choices available to them, that they're set up to take advantage of all the choices available to them. And I call that choice ready. And I'll give you a real quick example. So for our students who graduate and choose to go to university or Rockingham Community College or one of the others in the area, that they go, first of all, with prepared, but also with hours, CCP. So that's why we put a huge emphasis on partnering with Rockingham Community College so that you can get credit, because that makes college much more affordable, right? That's why we have the IB program at Reedsville. That's why we have offer AP classes. That's also why we have the college advisors at each school, because I want to make it affordable and attainable. And the worst thing that can happen is a student goes to college and is racked with a lot of debt and comes out. So that's one example. If you want to go and be employed and maybe delay college, because that's the nice thing. When I was in high school, I graduated in 1986, so a while ago. Like the standard is you either worked or you went to college, and you didn't really have a choice to go to college if you almost didn't go immediately. Now you can go to college anytime, anywhere. My youngest son got his master's from the University of Kentucky. He never stepped on in Kentucky. I don't think he's ever been there. Same thing with my wife. She got her master's. So I would rather students do something that they're interested in first, save up money, and then go when it's affordable. So and if students want to be entrepreneurs, like you guys might take this podcast and start monetizing it, we want to do that too. We want to give them experiences that allow them to do that. So that is my vision, is it's all about what we can do to prepare our students. And it's so critical now, because do you guys have any idea? I ask this question to everybody I speak with. Who knows what the future is going to look like in 5 years?
Well, definitely not any of us.
Yeah, no, and nobody has raised their hand when I've asked them to raise their hand, and I'm raising my hand like anybody can see on podcast. I apologize to podcast viewers, I think. But, yeah, we don't know. And so I want to prepare you guys for anything, all of the above. So that is what we're trying to do here in the district.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think it's very important, especially because, like, you know my mom.
Oh, yeah.
Having it drilled into me, like, this is critical.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. And I think a lot of parents do, a lot of teachers do.
And even going on with employment, what we've really concentrated on is offering different choices to kids as well as within that. And so, you know, the students who are in our CTE classes, we don't want them just to have the CTE experience. We want them to get credentials. We also are working really hard to increase the number of internships, job shadowing opportunities that we have, so that they'll know what they're getting into, and there'll be a job for them when they decide for that. Again, giving everybody all the choices. I don't believe I need to tell you what you can do. If we're doing our job right, you guys will have the tools in order to make the best decisions for you. Still have a ways to go, though.
As with everything. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always improvement.
Always a work in progress.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to go back and forth on the silly questions, just
Yeah.
keep you on your toes. If you could be a fruit, what kind of fruit would you be and why?
Passion fruit, right? Because you have to have passion to work in education, to work with students, and you feed off the passion that students bring.
Yeah.
Like, you know, again, your podcast, the passion you have. When my son was high school senior, he had to do a senior project, and he basically did his own version of The Daily Show, filmed it and all that. I've never seen him work harder on anything. You know, I almost was tempted to have him ask him to take out the trash one time, see if it would actually happen. It didn't, but yeah. So, passion fruit.
Oh, yeah.
I have, just like you said, we're going to kind of ping pong. What are there, this is kind of a broad question, but like, are there any curriculum changes that you're thinking about? Because like, you said senior project, and it got me thinking how for our senior English class, the project has been replaced with a final paper. So just like...
What I try to do at the district level is I believe in school leadership and schools making choices that are right for them. I can't say choice right for students if I don't believe in choices for the teachers and the principals that lead our schools. So we try to do things very broadly. So what we're trying to do at the district level is we're providing resources for our second through eighth grade students. We actually now have a reading textbook for them, which we haven't had in forever. And, you know, we have a career exploration lab for our middle school students. So broad things is what I'm more interested in doing. One of the things we've asked all of our schools to do, and all of our principals and assistant principals, is to say, what is your one thing that you're doing this year to improve your school? I think for I was about to give her a doctorate. She's working on it. Principal Blackwell, I know she is really interested in making sure that the Math 1 instruction is really, she gives a lot of support to the teachers, and we improve our Math 1 instruction. So I try to set a broad outline, and the outline I've set is, you know, I want you to focus on a few things and do those well instead of trying to do a bunch of things. And I count on our principals and our teachers and our staff members to take it up from there, and I trust them, and they do a great job.
I love that answer. I'm gonna say that I
100%.
love the broadness. I mean, like
Yeah.
studying to be a music professor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love giving teachers what they want to do. You know.
Well, I always think about the one-room schoolhouse, and so much of the principles of what we try to do kind of go from there.
Yeah.
What we need to do, education is incredibly hard, but some of the principles, the foundations are not. We need to ensure that we're supposed to teach the standards, right? But not the tests, because those are two different things, right?
Yeah.
in a really engaging manner, creating work that our students want to do. My judgment is if a student persists, even in the face of difficulty, then we've created great work for them to do. And then we have to wrap our hands around our students. You guys are faced with pressures as high school students, as middle school students, as elementary school students that I didn't have, and I really appreciate that. And I believe in our students. Every generation says, like, all those young people, I don't know what they're doing. I think the young people, especially of your generation, are great. You are one of the most empathetic group of young people I've ever seen. You care about each other. You're inclusive, which I love as well. And that's part of education, too, is creating the atmosphere that you can thrive. And I know we're not the Spark Lab here, and that's one of our goals, is to create this atmosphere that allow you to bring your best self, because we're going to let you go, and if we're telling you what to do all the time, then we haven't set you up to be choice ready, have we?
It's true.
I like that.
Oh yeah. I just did the last one.
Oh, wait, I thought I just asked one. I didn't, did I? Oh, we have some visitors. Oh. You guys can come in if you'd like. I don't think we've ever recorded in front of an audience before. This is
We have an audience now.
Yeah,
so go crazy.
There we go.
Cool.
As your proof is right there, that we have an audience.
Yeah. So, I had a question actually, but that was just a little unexpected, so I lost it.
Yeah.
Was it on there?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
So we're just gonna come back to the
To be
script.
fair, I had some earlier and I forgot
Yeah.
it. So
What do you consider to be the most important aspect of your job?
Creating the conditions that allow people to do their best work.
I really like that.
Yeah, that's the most important aspect. Allowing the teachers, creating a sense of safety so that teachers can bring their best selves to the classroom. They don't feel like, oh, if I make a mistake or if something's not right, there's going to be some consequence. What I care about, again, is moving our students forward. And if you're working hard to do that, and maybe you're doing something experimental, and you fail, that's okay. I'd rather you fail forward and say, well, great, I know what not to do now, let's try this again. When and again, we go back to, we don't know what our future is going to look like, so we really have to be entrepreneurs. We have to be willing to take some risk, and so that's really important, because we're not going to move forward unless we do that. That's probably my most important job.
And I'm seeing that a lot, like on a student level, like here, especially in this building, because it's so design oriented.
Specifically the
Yeah,
CTE
specifically,
building. We've
yeah.
spent since our freshman year,
Freshman
right?
year, yeah.
Our freshman year in here, because we were originally part of the Creative Arts and Design Academy when we came here. So we've definitely seen like the growth here, and especially with the Spark Lab, that's been I think one of the biggest changes to this building. I mean, because we've seen the esports labs and those desks and like the sewing lab and stuff, but I mean, this is just totally different.
But I mean, you go into like Vincent's room and do Adobe, and you just expect to be put into a specific line of work until you get the degree. But no, there's so much creative freedom in that class and just in that course in general.
Yeah.
And everything in this building, it's so like freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the whole idea behind the Spark Lab itself, is allow you guys to explore. And I love the concept. I've been an early supporter of the Spark Lab. We were one of the first districts. We were the first districts to have it, and we probably we're the first district to expand it too. So we actually expanded it to 2 other schools. Reedsville and Moorhead are the 2. And what I like about it is, one of the reasons I want to expand it is because I think it's a great model, especially for high school, of what we should do. There's some choice elements, and you either do or you don't do, right? And you can kind of create your own adventure, and they're really high quality materials that you actually have to do something with as well. It's not just like iReady, and iReady is a very valuable program, but you're just kind of clicking and doing. This is you actually have to think and interact. It's the type of, I think, what we need for high school, because the way we're doing high school has not changed since 1920s easily, and it very much needs to.
And I felt like you're talking about specifically high schools. I've had a similar experience to like a Spark Lab kind of thing in the middle school, Reedsville Middle School, except we actually went to UNCG
Yeah.
and do the Bridges program,
Yeah.
which was so much fun. And I'm getting a similar vibe and a similar feeling in being in this building, and especially the Spark Lab. So it's very rewarding what you and the district are doing.
Yeah.
Because, like saying from a student body perspective, there's so much change and it's so much different, and it's really good. It's really good.
One of the things I want to do more of that I haven't gotten a chance to, because I'm in my I'm going into my third year in the district, is I don't spend enough time talking to students, and that's something I really want to change, because I need to understand if what we're thinking of is actually working, because if it's not working for y'all, then we need to rethink about it.
I think that's really good, because I think that a lot of teachers, it's just like, oh, well, it's not working for some students, but there's not a whole lot we can do, so we need to just keep doing it, right? I haven't seen, if this isn't working, then we have to change it, because I feel like you said, there's not been a lot of curriculum or just educational change in public high schools, and there really needs to be. So I really like that philosophy.
Yeah, no student is the same.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that I ever complete my thought with the run room, because I can go off on tangents if you allow me to.
Trust me, we understand that.
well,
Yeah.
you've seen the episode.
Yeah.
So.
But what I would say is, again, it's those core principles. There's lots of things we can do, but we have to create a system where we know what our students need and we are able to give them what they need, right? And that is academically, obviously, but it's also nobody's learning. If you come in upset from what happened, if you really don't like your teacher, you're not learning at your optimum rate, right? Learning is a voluntary activity. I can't make anybody learn anything. And that's why it's so critical that we listen to one another and we develop relationships with our students, and they feel seen and heard.
100%.
Agreeable. Is that me?
I don't know. We're kind of.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just go. Okay. What has been your favorite thing that has happened in your career?
Gosh, I've been so lucky. I've had so many great experiences. I've been literally all over the country. I mean, I just can't pick. It's kind of like asking a parent to pick a favorite kid.
Well, you can give us like top 5.
Yeah. Well, I think so. When I was a teacher, being able to, I had a student who was with an abusive father. In fact, I learned later after he left my classroom, his father literally drove a car through their house.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah. I taught 4th grade math at that time. He got every question right on the end of grade test. This was when we first had him.
Wow.
Yeah, he aced it. And he was a student that you wouldn't think would ace it, you know?
Yeah.
That was great. I worked at a juvenile home to see the students that I worked with there. Juvenile home, they had gone through the court system, and we were trying to make sure that they did not continue to go through a court system. And one of the students I worked with, who was in a single wide trailer with 10 other people with no running water or electricity, and think about that for a second, seeing his growth. When I was a principal, we were able to have a really successful school year, and it was what made it so successful is, again, we were a school that was not supposed to be. We were a Title I school, so we weren't supposed to do well, and we were the second highest performing school in the district. It was actually Alamance County, and it was just a whole group working together, and it was, people were very surprised at our, and then working. Another moment is when I got to hand my oldest son, his diploma when I was the superintendent in Texas. It's the only person I've ever kissed in the graduation ceremony, by the way. I don't think he really enjoyed that part of it. But I got to sign his diploma and give it to him. That was a top personal thing for me.
That must have been amazing.
And then I think the work we're doing here in the county and the work I did in D.C. with the idea of going choice ready, and I really have evolved in my career. In Texas, we were all about getting every student that we taught into college. And it's just from that experience and learning and seeing so many smart kids have to come back from that because there were family pressures, there were things like that. And so the evolution I've had because this is my 35th year in education.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Where else have you taught? Other?
So I
was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started out in a rural county in North Carolina, Hertford County. I taught there for 4 years and 2 more years with the juvenile home. And then I've been in Roanoke Rapids City Schools. I've been in Chapel Hill Harbor City Schools, Alamance County, Charlotte Mecklenburg. I worked for a national nonprofit. I was in Dallas, superintendent of a district there. DC for 9 years. I was in charge of all the secondary schools. It's my last job there. And then here in Rockingham County.
What?
See, I've just been here.
What just a jump?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I've worked in charter schools, private schools, because it was technically a private school, the juvenile home, and public schools in very wealthy school districts like Chapel Hill, Scarborough, and really poor districts. Hertford County is one of the poorest parts of the state. It's in the northeastern corner of the state, right on the Virginia line. So east of us,
Gotcha.
because we're also on the Virginia line in Rockingham
Yeah.
County. Yeah.
So where have you been? Like not just teaching, not just like for work. Where have you been other than here?
Oh gosh. Well, my mom's French.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
And my sister lives there, and so I have
wow.
4 nieces and nephews who are there, and aunts.
Family reunions must be crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Just
well,
4 little kids running around speaking French. I mean, I can't even imagine.
yeah, and my parents, when I was growing up, for me not to understand, they would speak French to each other. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take Spanish. And so I did my student teaching in Los Angeles. The job that I had working for the nonprofit, I literally was, for 3 years, there was only 15 weeks I did not get on a plane and go someplace else. So I was been literally all over the United States, just looking at school districts and schools and visiting classes and things like that.
So do you speak both? Do you speak Spanish and French?
I speak, no, I don't speak French because
Okay.
that was my rebellious. And also, like the French teacher in Rocky Mountain was really bad.
Oh, okay.
My great grandmother came over one time when my sister was taking it and cursed her out in French. She was a character. And all the French teachers say, well, oui. So I did not take it. And Spanish, I haven't spoken it since when I did my student teaching. All the kids were either from Mexico, Honduras, or Guatemala. And so I could speak a little bit better then. But when you don't speak a language for 35 years, you have a tendency to not be able to speak it. Well, I can read it a lot better than I can speak it.
Do you want any other foreign language courses to be available here? My mom went to high school here in the 90s, and she took French, but we only have Spanish now.
Yeah, my grandma took French here in the 60s.
What I want to do is whatever we do, we have to do well, and we have to ensure that we have a pathway so the kids can do it well. We have the Spanish immersion program, the SPLASH program, currently right now at South End, Stoneville, and Bethany Elementary Schools. And so that, if we don't have pathways for kids to do it well, I'd rather not do it. And it's really hard to find staff members, teachers anyway. It's incredibly hard to find qualified French teachers or Arabic. When I was in Chapel Hill, we actually started, as a principal, we started a dual language Chinese, Mandarin Chinese English school, and all the kids graduated or left 5th grade completely fluent, but we could get the folks in there. And what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to have kids try to learn a language in front of a computer screen. So I would love to. It's just, that's one of the hardest things about being a superintendent is we have to really prioritize what we spend our money on.
Yeah.
And so my philosophy is if we're going to do something, let's try to do it better, not have a bunch of things that we only do halfway.
Okay.
Move this. Yeah. I lost my cursor.
I was gonna do that, but I couldn't find the cursor. Yeah.
No, I lost it too. I
Okay.
don't
While
know
we
where
find
it
the
is.
cursor,
It's still gone.
Yeah, I kind of saw,
okay,
saw it
there
a
it
little bit. There it is. There
it is,
you
yeah,
go.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. We have another silly question on there somewhere.
Where did
If
you go to
wanna
high
take
school?
I went to Rocky Mount Senior High
Okay.
School. I was a Griffon, and there's actually no such thing as a Griffon. There's a Griffin, but the way apparently in Nash County, where I grew up in North Carolina, we don't know how to speak, so it was a Griffon. And the reason it was a Griffon is because it was high school was integrated. There was the African American school were the Blackbirds, and the white school were the Lions, and so the Griffin was the better combination. So that's how they came up with the name, which I think is really cool, actually.
Oh yeah.
That is neat.
Yeah, so that's where I went to high school.
Oh yeah.
I had a question, but I forgot it like 2 seconds ago. Oh, what do you think that the Spark Lab is gonna start? Like you've made this now, so what's the end goal? Is it?
Well,
growth?
I didn't
Is
make it.
more
I
of
mean,
this?
that's the goal is to have this in every high school if we can. We've just got to, again, figure out how to make it sustainable and be really creative. I feel very lucky that we have an amazing Spark Lab leader this year. Mr. Bradshaw is doing great things, and I'm not just saying that because he's beside me, and I want him to fill out the teaching working condition survey really well. I'm not doing anything like that. And I really believe it. So I want to see. We want to see how it does. We want to see how it goes if it's done well, and we want to try to expand it. I have to be really, again, because of limited funding, I have to be really careful, and this is one of the things I want to go into because of what I think it can, for lack of a better term, spark in our school district. But I want to make sure we do it well and we do it the right way. So that's one thing.
Is it hard, or has it been hard being a superintendent?
It's a great job because I get to do things like this, right? I get to be with kids. That's what makes it great. I was lucky enough, McMichael won 2 years ago, won the volleyball state championship. It's cool to walk around, Carter Finley and see that. It was cool to be at, NC State, not Carter Finley, Reynolds. It was cool last year to be at NC State. To see the Reidsville Rams win the state championship, and in Chapel Hill to see them win the second state championship. Those are the great things. But, we have over 11,000 kids, 1,500 employees. We serve a district with over 90,000 people. There are going to be issues that come up. And that's fine. That's part of my job. But that makes it hard sometimes because, this is one of our students are our most important resources. And I have to make decisions sometimes that I know are not popular for everyone. I always try to make decisions what I feel is in the best interest of students. So that's what makes it hard. And, everybody has been to school. So I have lots of advice. I'm never at a loss for someone telling me how I should run the schools or do. And so trying to balance and create that investment and buy-in in our school is really hard. And I have to spend a lot of time doing that. And it's not always my most favorite thing to do, but it's the job I have to do.
I really like that. I've said that like 4 times, but
Yeah,
I mean, really,
yeah.
I do. Everything you've been saying has just been very insightful.
Well, good. I'm glad.
So we're just gonna, again, pivot, keep you on your toes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
I have a couple. So in our, we really believe in high cinema in my family, really artsy films. So we really like Old School and Dumb and Dumber, what is it? The NASCAR movie. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Talladega Nights.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're not first, you're last.
Oh yeah.
Murphy's like
Oh, yeah.
screaming
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
No, I was a NASCAR kid growing
Yeah,
up. So
yeah. But I also, my favorite really art movie is a movie called The Remains of the Day. It's Anthony Hopkins, who's a great
heard of that.
actor. Yeah, he's a butler in this house, and he's really in love with the maid. And a maid in a house is not what we think of a maid in English manners, an English costume drama. But the understatedness of his acting is what I really appreciated. You could see the longing and pain in his eye that he wouldn't go forward just in the way that he looked. And just so well written and so well performed. That was probably one of my favorite movies that is not, a Will Ferrell movie or a Jim Carrey movie. Yeah.
When we asked you that, I did not think we were going to get a film buff answer.
Yeah.
Very pleasantly surprised.
Well, I mean, continuing on the film thing, anything like past past 10 years, because I know it's kind of dipped in quality, I'm gonna say.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh yeah. So anything that you can think of.
Gosh, I actually watched a lot of movies. I mean, I think there were some interesting, like, the superhero genres, and now they've gotten tired. I've started to watch the franchise, which is an HBO series about them trying to do a superhero movie, and it's hilarious. But what are some of the things that I thought were interesting? Gosh, you put me on the spot. Because if I look back at Netflix I could give you some. Let me come back to that. But you're right. There are, like, I wasn't a huge Oppenheimer fan.
I actually didn't see it.
Yeah, like that's.
Saw
I
Barbie
mean,
with my mom.
I thought it was a little overacted. Like, I thought it was a little bit of the. I mean, it was an interesting concept, but I like Promising Young Woman was a really interesting film to me. It wasn't the same genre. I like things that take some of the that are kind of like neo, like, so film noir. I like it when you do a different, interesting take on it that people haven't seen. That's what, and we have some of that, but now it's all about action, and that's fun, right? But it's also fun to see something that you've seen with a new spin on it.
You said HBO series. My mind immediately went to Chernobyl. That is one of my favorite series.
Yeah, it's for our family as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, there's so much out there. I'm tending to watch, like, there's a Apple series, Slow Horses, and I've read almost all the books. There's 7 books, and I just like the character, Jackson Lamb, who's Gary Oldman, who was in the Sirius
love
Black.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, and he's just. I've read the books, and he does such a good job being true to because a lot of times you read a book and you're like, this is nothing like it, but
my
it's
God.
really very close. He
The
does such a
Inkheart
great.
movie was terrible.
Yeah.
Nobody's read that book, but the Inkheart movie was
Yeah,
terrible.
I have not either.
It's about actually don't. It's like it's a book within a book. Basically, it's about this girl whose dad he like reads out loud, and the books like come alive, and he accidentally summoned a villain, and then
Oh, that's
all
kinda
that
cool.
happens.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing, but it's good.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I just had this thought, and I'm just gonna say it. Have you seen, like, or how much anime have you seen? I'm just gonna.
I haven't, but
You haven't?
if my son was right here beside me,
Okay.
I bought a lot of anime.
Oh yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen
Yeah.
and manga. Yeah, he's into that.
Okay. I had to ask.
Yeah.
no, fair. We are very
Yeah.
nerd podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I've like looked at it and said, yeah, it's kind of cool, but that's about the extent of my anime
Okay.
knowledge. But I have purchased anime.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm gonna ask him who his favorite superhero is.
Okay.
Who's my favorite superhero?
Okay.
We have some
Yeah.
serious Spider-Man bias over here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right there.
I
Right
like
there.
I like Peter Parker. I like. I actually thought Tobey Maguire did a fairly good
I
job.
love the Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire Spider-Man movies.
And I mean, Batman with the Joker, not with God, what's his name?
Are we thinking of a different?
The Australian one, Heath Ledger.
Oh, okay.
That was one. I mean, that was amazing. That performance. But when I was a kid, I always wanted to be Flash. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was. I was pretty hyper. I was ADHD,
Yeah.
and so the Flash really resonated with me.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, with the
Yeah.
repetition, but I mean, like, excellent answer.
Have you seen
The Flash.
the Joker movie?
No, I haven't
Yeah,
because
you need
I'm okay.
It's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Feels so guilty.
I heard the sequel wasn't really that great.
Well, I mean, it just came out.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it yet. So
Okay.
I
Oh, the
don't
one with
know.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
the sequel. Yeah.
it's a hard thing to follow. I mean, just
Did you watch
anybody.
the first one though?
No, you know,
Well,
I
then
haven't.
there you
I
go.
know. I'm trying. I'm just Lady Gaga versus Margot Robbie here. Just like having to follow Margot Robbie in any
That's
capacity.
hard.
It's gotta be
That's hard.
Yeah.
Even for Lady
Yeah.
Gaga.
Margot Robbie did a great film with Will Smith. I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, where they were like
I think I know what you're talking about.
pickpockets, and then they did this whole thing with Formula One racing.
Oh, I think I saw the trailer.
Yeah, it was actually. I'll think of it afterwards, after I'm in the
Yes.
car driving away from here.
Yeah, I heard Formula One. I'm here now.
Yeah, oh yeah, Drive to
Drive to Survive
is great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're again gonna like flip flop with one of our serious questions.
Oh.
You can go back to silly stuff if you want. I'm still
Well,
picking
no, I don't
stuff
have
out.
any-
You got time.
I don't have anything right now.
Did we already ask that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I when I ask them, I usually word them differently, or I try to.
I think we pretty much gotten
No,
through
yeah,
the list.
we've.
Yeah.
Most of them, at
I
least.
had some actually in my head, but I forgot them.
Well, let me turn around.
Okay.
What are we doing well, and what should we be doing better as a school system?
Ooh, okay.
That's spicy. Okay.
And we're in the tree of trust and the nest
of.
of understanding, to quote old school.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, no, I just need to think because
we need Chris
wow.
here. We need Chris here.
We need Chris here. More and better teachers. I like a lot of our teachers here, but I mean just like a lot of them, not recently. They don't last very long.
No, it's hard. Teaching's really hard.
Yeah.
And for the amount of work you put into it and the amount of education you have, you've got to put bread on the table. And it's one of the things I've really been, that's one of my goals, is to figure out how to make it sustainable. And it's particularly hard here in our county because the way districts in North Carolina are funded is we get 3 streams of funding. We have federal funding that's done on a formula that's consistent across the country and across the state. We have state funding that is done the same way. And then localities, counties can add to the funding. And we are beside some of the wealthiest counties in the state with Guilford, Forsyth, even Alamance now. And they can put more resources, more dollars into the education system that we can't. And this year it's the first time since 2009 that we got an increase in our local funding. I'm very, very thankful for the county commissioners, but whenever that happens, that increases our tax rate, and you hear from people, and it takes a lot of courage to do that because nobody wants to pay more. And I'm a taxpayer; I don't want to pay more either, but I want to pay. I do want to make investments, and the investment that we put into education, I can give you lots of studies that show it pays off for counties in the long run. So yeah, I agree with you. We need to keep our teachers here, and it's something I'm thinking about a lot.
I have another answer. I think on a student level, and this probably isn't fixable from a district point of view because I mean, stream of communication is such a fragile and complicated thing, but I mean, information access. Like, the only reason I know things is because I have a mom who also wants to know everything. So she's, like, in every little information bubble she can get. But I have friends whose parents aren't quite as, for lack of a better word, I love you, Mom, I'm sorry, nosy. She says that. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way, so she knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed that it's very hard for them to find things out because, I mean, nothing is announced well, I don't think. I mean, we have remind messages, but we also have emails going out and then stuff on the website, and nothing matches up very well. The only consistent thing, I think, is, like, the calendar. From what I've seen, I'm not saying from, like, huge general. I don't want to, like, make a huge generalization, but, like...
But you're right. I mean, it's always a struggle for communication. When I first got here, I kind of learned to love our old website. When I first saw it, I'm like, what in the world is this? It's horrible because it wasn't great. It was hard to navigate. We've gotten a new website. We're trying to think about that. We have a public information officer. That's always getting stuff, the announcements out because we do so much. Like Tuesday, I was triple booked for 3 things that we were doing in the district, right? And so that's a challenge. What I want to do, and we had this great event on Tuesday. One of the things I was triple booked for, we were asked, our teachers and our parents, we're working on our AI policy, and it's actually not a policy. We're calling it guidelines because AI is changing so quickly that if you try to do a policy, that it would be folly. And we actually brought in, we had a parent representative from all of our schools and a teacher representative from all of our schools and said, here's our policy. What do you think? How can we make it better? What can we do? I want to do more of that because that way our school system must reflect the values of our community, the values of the parents that we serve. And that's one of the things that we have to get better two-way communication as well, right? We have to be able to find out, like, well, why is this not working, and what can we do to make it better? Because we also, with the new website, we added the app, but then we have to let people know how to get the app, and because those types of things will allow you to. And what some people think is good communication, others said, well, I'm not going to use that. So we have to. That's one of the tricky things is figure that out. Yeah. But thank you. I think that's really good feedback, and I agree. Other things?
I'm just waiting on the announcement.
Or
not.
Pause on
I
that.
think they're waiting for you to finish.
That was great. I'm done.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. What are some other things?
In terms of your question?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing that I can really pinpoint. I was gonna ask. What is the AI guidelines gonna look like?
It's what so we're trying to get people to understand how to harness it better, and to not run away from it, but run towards it,
and not abuse it.
Well, not abuse it. So, like, for instance, teaching our students literacy, right? Because this is generative AI, because we've been using AI for a long time.
Yeah.
If even back when they had the little Garmin map things, that was AI. But generative AI is really what we want to wrap our arms around. And so teaching our students, like, this is the appropriate use for it. And if you do use it, just say, hey, this was AI improved or AI generated or whatever. And making sure that our teachers have know when to use it and when not to. And giving our students platforms that allow them to do it, but it won't give them the answer, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I think someone doesn't realize the intercom's
Yeah,
on.
they left it on. That's nice.
That's okay.
Well, there's that.
That's a phone.
That's fine.
Okay. Good. Well, maybe that's a sign from above that.
Well, that's somebody who's calling to tell them. Watch this.
Oh, that's what I was worried about.
Somebody should be calling and telling. Right, that's not good.
All right.
Actually, I did have one more thing.
Outstanding.
Being someone who started off pre-IB and then went into honors instead of full IB, one thing I noticed was that, and I mean, I think that there should be some, like, what's the word? For lack of a better term, the people who are in this voluntary program and working a lot harder than other students should definitely have some special trips and programs and stuff like that. But I think that students who are in the IB program who don't get as many trips and stuff feel a little left out. And I don't want to say, like, hey, give everybody like a field trip or anything, because I mean, I know there's a funding issue, but I mean, I've really noticed students who are in pre-IB or honors or IB in general are just kind of like, they feel tossed to the side. And they feel like, even though everybody is like, well, all of you are special, they're like seeing that there are students who get more opportunities and extracurricular options and like options for things outside of school. And it's just kind of like, well, I know you're doing more work than me, but it still feels unfair. Yeah, no, and to me, that's one of the equity issues we have, is we have 5 high schools with the early college, 4 traditional high schools. And that's one of the biggest struggles when you talk about staffing, is I might be able to get one outstanding Math 3 teacher. It's really, really hard to get 4 outstanding Math 3 teachers, right? And so we have to think a little bit differently. And I know you say it's funding, and exactly is a funding. A lot of the opportunities particularly for IB, are funded through a grant, privately funded through the Reedsville Area Foundation, which we really appreciate. But I would love to have our kids' experience, because that makes learning real. In DC, for a period of time, for about 2 or 3 years, because we had grant funding, we were able to take many of our kids, they could apply, and we took them internationally.
I had 8th graders going to Costa Rica. We had some seniors, juniors and seniors doing service learning projects in Peru and Chile.
Oh, wow.
I would love to be able to do that, but we can't. So then my question is, what can we do that's similar, that's more cost effective? Anytime I can make learning real, people can see what it leads to in an end, it's going to be much more relevant, and our students are going to tune into it more. So I'm a big fan of that. It's just, again, funding.
I think maybe it wouldn't even have to be like a field trip or anything, just maybe like a different learning experience in the library, like a voluntary lab or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like when we got to like dissect, I didn't do it, like dissecting pigs in biology, like have people come in, stare at some chickens, call it science.
I mean, I'm
Not exactly, I
Yeah.
mean like actually learn about the chickens, because that would be super cool, but I
I
mean.
think we're supposed to be getting chicken. We have chickens at Rock.
I want
Hi.
chickens. I want chickens.
There are chickens at Rockingham.
Yeah, for the ag program. We actually do have
I
chickens.
want
Want
chickens? What?
Yeah.
No, because my dad
My sister-in-law has a ton of chickens.
wanted us
Maybe
to
not
get
a ton,
chickens,
but
but
a
my
lot.
mom said no, and not really.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna add on before we get too delved into the chickens thing. On the creating something that's cost effective while not planning out a whole field trip to Peru thing. Are you familiar with the UNCG Bridges program?
The UNC.
UNCG Bridges.
Yes, I have a little knowledge, which they say is a
Okay.
dangerous thing.
Okay, so something like that, where it's more like a workshop, like a voluntary workshop, like we were talking about with like a computer lab or something like that, just hosted, say, after school, during school, that gives students opportunities to delve into their creative art, like personally with an instructor, but it's completely voluntary.
Wait, so like this?
Yeah,
Okay, so we already have that.
But I think the point's well taken.
Not to shut you down, because that sounds
you
awesome.
just shut me down.
Yeah.
I did.
Not to
Once-
shut you down as I'm shutting you down.
This is back
Not to shut
like,
you down, but I'm shutting you down, like completely.
This is back to which episode was it where we made the whole title off of how I was.
Well,
like,
you
saying
shut me down
no?
every episode, so.
I don't know.
It's kind of like saying, with all due respect, I think you're crazy.
Okay, well, with all due respect, to be more specific.
Yeah, well, with all due respect, the Spark Lab, it has advantages in certain areas.
Yeah.
But when it comes to teaching individual students
Yeah.
and giving them hands-on activity,
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that.
something like UNCG Bridges, especially me coming from that, would be an amazing opportunity.
Oh, agreed. And
Yeah.
and something like being able to go into the brand new Workforce Development Center and work with some of those really cool HOS machines they have. We're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And a lot of these programs, Bridges, what happens is we start them, they're grant funded, right? That means an outside entity, either a private foundation or there's some federal grants, starts it, and then in fact that's how we got it. That's how we got the Spark Lab here, right?
Yeah.
We were able to use some grant funding to open up the 2 labs, and then it's sustaining it is always the thing, and that's my job. But we have to have, that's all part of Choice Ready, right? We have to have all of the above.
Yeah.
And we just, one of my biggest jobs is to convince our citizens and to show them work like this, that it actually leads to something, and it's good for all of us, and it's worth that investment. And that's one of the things I'm thinking about. I'm calling up the Kiwanis clubs, the Rotary clubs,
Yeah.
and coming out and talking about that and doing our whole spiel. So that's one of my jobs. But I agree, that's all part. Again, I think I said my goal is to ensure that students persist in what we give them, even in the face of difficulty. And I mean, you're talking about it now, right? I'm sure that's what happened because you felt connected.
Yeah.
And so whatever we can do to make it real and make those connections real is what I want to do. But that's the hard part of the job. So
Well,
I'll keep
yeah.
on plugging away
Yeah,
at it.
true. Well, it was just during that program.
Yeah.
It was all about like environmental studies and stuff like that, and we were in the environment. We were
Yeah.
studying the environment.
And that's where you should be.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I can give you tons of examples. We
Yeah.
just have to figure out in our country what we value and how do we want to do it, because you get big bangs for your buck when you do things like that, but it's costly, and it's not like overly costly, but it costs money to get a bus to take kids places, right? It costs money you're talking about dissecting pigs. Someone's got to pay Carolina Biological Supply for the pigs. And those are like, $120 each. And so it's things like that I have to think about, and I'm never let challenges stop me or make excuses. But I do believe in telling people the truth.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, but that's the goal. We'll see if we can get there.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely wonderful and very insightful.
Well, thank you.
And
And same is true for me.
I think that we've done all the questions and we've asked everything that we've wanted to ask. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys doing this. Again, I was sent this by Mr. Bradshaw and Miss Walls, and I listened to it, and I thought, this is kind of cool. I like the authenticity of it. And so you guys are doing a great job. And I look forward to seeing what you guys will do once you graduate in June.
Oh, yeah.
All right?
Find us.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Right?
Very well done.
Yeah,
Very
buddy.
well. Very good.
Yeah. You guys made it easy.
Well, thank you, listeners. That was Dr. Stover.
That was Dr. Stover.
Anything to add, Murphy?
No.
All right. Well, we are going to go to the rest of our episode. Chris and I will not be here, so episode 7 is just going to be Murphy
It's just gonna be me.
plus me for about an hour.
I'll keep it brief because I know some of y'all don't like me. So.
Oh, actually, we do have one more thing to ask Dr. Stover, but we're
do.
going to go off the microphone for that.
Okay.
So, bye, guys.
Hi, welcome back to Murphy at Home. That was fun, wasn't it? It was fun for us. Very happy to be able to have that opportunity with Dr. Stover. But now we're going to end the episode with first saying shoutouts. Happy 15th birthday to Ella O'Neill. That's Avery's sister. I think. Yay! And on to the wrap up. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Instagram at ramcast.nc, and send us literally anything at ramcastofficial3@gmail.com. We'll read it on the podcast. Now, onto our song of the week, chosen by Dr. Stover. Dr. John Stover picked I Need Love by LL Cool J, which is a honestly insane pick. I had no idea that this guy listened to, classic. It's so cool to see people still listen to that kind of stuff. Anyways, yeah. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching Ramcast.
There I was, giggling about the games that I had played with many hearts, and I'm not saying no names. Then the thought occurred, teardrops made my eyes blur, cause I said to myself, look what you've done to her. I can feel it inside, I can't explain how it feels. All I know is that I'll never dish another raw deal playing make